While the hosts and guests are encouraged to express their views, they don't necessarily reflect those of the management of Portland Sports Network, but they likely do.
Welcome, Panther fans, to another edition, episode 3 of Off the Rails Sports Saturday. Good morning, guys. How are you?
Doing fantastic.
Doing good. Kyle, how are you doing?
Still cold.
Cool. It was hot in here. When I got here, it was smoking inside this room. Uh, but anyway, got a full show today. What we're going to be trying to do is we got Kyle Lane, the head coach of the new Portland Middle School football team. I guess you call it new. Um, it's funny because he was the coach of the last Portland Middle School team, and then he's been the only coach at Portland West Middle School, and now he's back to being a coach for the middle school again. Now that we've combined, he'll be our guest on the second hour or whenever he gets here. We'll also talk about the PSSAA state championship games that have been played so far. There's been 6 out of 9 being played so far. Only 2 games were close. Last night was an exciting game. So exciting that I missed a break. I missed it. We're totally going to break, and I missed it. So, uh, but other than that, it's just we'll talk about the games there. We'll also talk about basketball. They've had 2 games this past week. Tuesday night against Hendersonville, and then last night against Gallatin. Talk about the results there. And then I can sit there and say we got confirmation next Saturday. We will have Coach Witten will not be here, but her assistant coach for cross country will be here, along with some of her runners. Will be our guest next week. And then on December 28th, right after Christmas, we've got Teddy Baird and Eli Baird coming on to talk about fishing, and we can sit there and then understand why we have no PHS fishing team now. I think it's a county team because I think his boat partner is someone from Station Camp. From the last time I talked to Teddy, and he was explaining that to me. But guys, we can go into and if we get a chance, we'll go over to some of the college coaches, the changes. I know there's a lot of openings going on. Some of the ones that I know of so far is Coach Summerall from Tulane last night. The good thing there is they ended up winning the conference championship last night over. Oh, you got your Tulane over the North Texas. Thank you. I know the North Texas coach is leaving also. He got a job somewhere. I can't remember that one, but Summerall from Tulane. Okay. Summerall's going to Florida. Everybody knows about Kiffin going to LSU. The news that came out broke last night, was Matt Campbell from Iowa State is going to Penn State. James Franklin has been named Virginia Tech new head coach. And the coach from Florida, Ashley, I don't think he went a week, and he's got a job at a 1AA school, I think it is. Was it James Madison? Is that where he went? James?
Yeah, James.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. That's
a group of 5.
okay.
Yeah, that's the
They moved up. Well, they used to be 1AA when I was playing. So there's still a lot of openings out there. Still a lot of coaches, to be. But I guess we just went through them there. But we'll go back. We'll talk a little bit about the TSSAA playoffs. Coach, there you have the results so far, and we'll talk about the games and maybe our thoughts on that and everything as we get going into this hour.
Yeah, the first game, BGA squeaked out a close game with Franklin Road Academy, 61
Correct.
to 27. Nashville Christian, the kid that flipped his commitment at the last second
Jared
from
Curtis.
Georgia to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's a cute thing now. I hope they can sustain that. But anyway, they won 59 to 7. Baylor, in a really good game, beat Brentwood Academy 28-24. Yesterday, Westview beat Gallatin Pittman 62-21. South Pitt, team we follow during the high school season,
Who?
South
do?
Pitt, yeah, we
Do
do.
we?
We do big time. We announce their games when they're going to play, and we do their scores. So South Pitt beat McKenzie 42-14. Page beat Sevier County 21-7. Today we got Alcoa at Pearl Cone, Marion County at Huntington, and Oakland at Riverdale. Yeah, so two teams we follow on our football broadcast were in the playoffs this year, Franklin Road Academy and South Pitt. So that's cool. See people now when I read those scores all the time, and they know why, because we're keeping up with winners.
Uh, okay. Well, let's go back, and I was able to watch pretty much all 6 of those games so far. Um, here's what my take on why the blowups happened. You've got 2 good teams. You're not good if and you're playing in the state championship game. You can't be just okay. You can't go in there and go, man, what's wrong with these teams? It's not that is, but what it is the teams are good enough that they capitalize on mistakes. And what I saw um, with BJ and FRA was that first FRA came out. I don't know if they were a little, I ain't gonna say nervous, but they had a couple penalties to start their first drive, got behind the chains, and that got them kind of behind the everything there. Had some early mistakes from, and it just BJ is too good to sit there and have that against them. You have to play. Both teams have to play a perfect game, and when you don't, the team that the other team is going to sit there and capitalize on it. But I think I don't know if FRA was honoring the speed that BGA had at receiver because they played cover 3 a lot, and the same thing with Westview. Um, who'd Westview play? Pittman. Same thing with Pittman. They played a lot of cover 3, hoping not to get beat deep, and they started hitting them on little short 5-yard, 10-yard outs or digs and stops and stuff like that. So then you start trying to come up, and that's when the speed does hit you. And
Well, FRA on the edge, they play man on the corners, so I think that their corners wasn't that good. It is what it is. One of them's my kid, Mike Castle. He's a great offensive player, but he's a fair defensive player. But that's the passing game. If you can't get to the quarterback and hit him, and he can sit back there and have
yep,
some time to make reads, he's going to kill you.
and that's what it's going to. That's what the offenses are going to nowadays in high school, no matter what division you're going into. And once you got behind, I think, and this goes from Pittman to FRA to all the teams that got behind, and you're looking at the scores. You get behind, and you're not used to that. You're trying to make a play to get yourself back in it, and that's when you start getting really behind. Is because you're trying to make a play. You're trying to make that big chunk play or that big touchdown. And like they're saying on the broadcast, there's not a play that gives you 14 or 21 points. So you can stay with your offense, but I think these guys at quarterback will sit there, and even some of the coaches will sit there and start going, "Well, we got to have something. We got to do something to get us back in this game to swing the momentum." And you do, but it's not just on the quarterback. It's not just on the offense. You got to have it defensively too. You got to be able to stop them. And I just think they got behind this and all these teams with the big scores and everything. And then you're going to run into a team like the Simpson kid from Westview. Um, and I've said this the last couple of years, especially the one um, from Clay County, the kid from Clay County when we played them. That was the one quarterback other until this year with Station Camp. And that's the one quarterback can actually read a defense and be on the same page with your receivers to where, hey, they're showing cover 3, we're going to run an out, a stop, or a hitch, whatever. Hey, they're in our face, we're going to run a double move, because this is what I'm reading. Hey, I'm reading cover 2, so this is where it's going to go. And that's what the NFL does, and that's what colleges do now.
And that's rare in the high school, especially in this area.
It is, and that's why, if you remember 2 years ago when we played Clay County, we could not get to the quarterback. Now we put him on the run, but he was also smart enough to understand I got to get on the run. I got to go now, and I either got to get the ball out, throw it away, or my receiver knows that I'm scrambling, and now this is his route for that. And so when you are together like that, um, when you're together like that, then you can make plays like that. And it's like, and so like with Station Camp, he broke records at Station Camp. It was Overbay broke records at Station Camp because he was able to get the ball out. It was 1, 2, 3. I'm throwing it because this is what we're seeing. This is what we're reading. But it's just, I think with Pittman, they was playing cover 3, trying to honor the speed and the deep balls and everything, and they killed him with the short stuff, and then they hit him like on a post. And it's a simple little post. How do you get behind on the post? Because now you're biting on this and you're biting on that. And they had him guessing the whole game. Once they come out and start throwing, and Simpson broke all kinds of records yesterday in their game with Westview. I think he had 6 or 7 touchdowns. A couple of the quarterbacks, BJ quarterback had. We talked about it last night. He had 60-something touchdowns going into the state championship game. He come out with 70. He had 6 or 7 touchdowns. And so to have 73, 74 touchdowns in a year is just incredible. That's not a career. That's about a year. And the Simpson kid's just a sophomore. He was in the 60s for touchdowns for a career. And he's got 2 more years. And there is no, hey, I'm bypassing, my senior year or this or that. He's going to play 2 more years. And so he's got 2 more years. You're looking at 50 to 60 more touchdowns for him per year. So he could be shattering stuff, all kinds. And he'll be getting. He's already getting and everything. And they was talking about it. It was good for his dad. It was the head coach at UT Martin, but they had to go to Chattanooga to watch his son play there, and then just drive down to Atlanta to watch his son play in the SEC championship game for Alabama. So it's one of those where a hour and a half, 2 hour drive right there. It's nice to be able to do that. So
To add to the way the game is changing, or the high school game is changing in Tennessee, and the players like got coming up. I know that Thursday game, I think it was the 8 game. All these records that had stood for couple of decades, I believe, got broken up past attempts, past completions, past yards, yards by both teams. All those were getting broken from years ago. And then the very next day, I think it was the Westview game. A lot of those records that were broken on Thursday got eclipsed on Friday. So they were able to kind of gloat in their glory for 24 hours, and that was it. And your record's already gone. Someone else has already taken it.
And you could be looking at get 2 more games going on today, and who knows what you're going to get in those games.
If history tells the last 2 games, first 2 won't be any good. We got away from the regular game. It's only the night game that's been competitive so far.
But the Chat Baylor Brewer Academy game was good. Academy came back, like Coach Larry said last night. They were looking for a blowout from Baylor, and it started out that way. 2 quick touchdowns, and then BA came back and started making a game from that, and turned it into a game. They were actually winning there toward the end.
One play. One play, one match down.
And
Yeah.
and then the Page game last night. So Page of Sevier County goes in last night, 7-0. I think it was at halftime. Come back 7-7, 14-7. Page goes up finally. It's 14-7. Page comes back, makes it 14-14, and then with less than 2 minutes to go, corner gets beat on a simple post, and they actually ran a double move with the number 2 receiver, ran it out and up, and I think they bid on that, and the number 1 receiver just ran a post and was wide open with less than 2 minutes to go, and then with that right there, Page had the ball, and what happened was Sevier County came back and made it 14-14. Stopped Page. Page punted it. Sevier County had it, went to go punt, bad snap over the punter's head, tried to pick it up, got tackled, and gave Page the ball inside the 5, I believe it was, and Page was able to go in and score to make it 21-14, and that's what ended up being the game winner. Game Page had a couple shots. They did get a shot to get it down, to the end zone there and threw one up, and it just. But that makes Page. I think they were there for this made their 5th time. Going to the state championship, they had lost 4 in a row, so everybody was calling the Buffalo Bills and everything, and you can see the emotions on. It's you see the emotions on his face. He's trying to come out and shake hands with the coach, and he had to stop for a minute, take a breath, and collect his thoughts there and everything. And I'm sure you've been there 5 times and you lost 4. You don't remember as that coach. So for them to actually get one right there, it's nice. And they've had athletes in the past. They've had athletes in the past to win those games and everything. But that's just, it was a good game. And I think you'll see Sevier County come back. Page will be back. These teams, with Westview, he's a sophomore. I think the BJA quarterback is a sophomore. So they're going to be around for a while. And, like you said, the game's changing. Today's Alcoa. You've got Oakland and Ravenwood in the final game tonight. That is 2A is who's in 2A?
Marion County.
Marion County.
Huntington.
Yeah. So Marion County has had a history of being there for a long time.
BGA coming in there. Looking at Division 2, double A. So now we're trying to find out who are going to be the teams to beat now that CPA has moved up. So it looks like, John talked about BGA last night on the basketball broadcast. Got a new coach coming in, already turned that school around. FRA was always on the doorsteps the last few years, getting there. So now you got to see, is it going to be a BGA FRA thing for the next few years in that division? And looking at some games today, thinking about that Alcoa Pearl Cone game. Wasn't that long ago that Pearl Cone moved up to 4A, and some of those that follow high school basketball daily were kind of saying that they were doing that to get away from Alcoa. Alcoa had won 45 straight championships in 3A, and so Pearl Cone decides to move up and see if they can compete without having to go up against Alcoa every year. And then, so 2-3 years later, Alcoa moves up to 4A, and here we are, championship game. Pearl Cone has to meet up with Alcoa again. So kind of interesting how that turns back around.
Well, it's good to see, and that just tells you, like with those teams right there, everybody asking them to move up. Can they compete? And they move up, this and that. And what happens is they're showing you that they can. They moved up, and they're back at it again. And that also shows you the athletes that you have is what's going to get you where you need to be. So the athletes that you had, you're down there at 2A. So that tells you athletes, when you continue to get athletes, you're going to have a ton of kids moving into Alcoa, wanting to go to Alcoa. Parents moving over in that district. You'll have parents that will sit there and drive an hour, 2 hours area so their kid can play on a championship team, no matter what sport it is. If they're that dedicated to, and it really means that much to them that they win a championship type of thing. And that's kind of where you're at today. And as long as you're winning, look at Beach. Beach is going to continue to have athletes. You figure out how does he get these 6'4" and 6'5" kids, these athletes down there to play football for Beach. And it's just going to be, that's what it is until either Crabtree retires or something happens down there and it breaks it up, and it's eventually going to happen. But that's just kind of those things. I still think Alcoa is going to be, because it's the system also. That was the second thing I was going to say. It's the system that sits there and allows that to happen. The system that you're in, the coaches that you have, the coaches who've been there, all the coaches, I guarantee you have been there for 5 to 10 years. They know the system the head coach uses. The head coach, I can talk to you about Coach Nix from Alcoa because I've talked to him personally, met him at conferences and everything. But he had Coach Rankin there before him. Coach Rankin has a history of winning no matter where he's gone. So he's learned from Coach Rankin on how to do things, how to handle things, and then he has stepped up and continued that. And so that, like I said, you have a system. Look at Oakland. Oakland has a system of winning everything, and they say you can't play 6A ball and run double wing offense. That pretty much is what he does. It might not be double wing per se. You might take a wing and slide him out or do this, or it's still most of the time it's double wing. Is the roots of Oakland's offense is double wing stuff, and that's where and that's what he runs. And then you have an athlete. Maybe you'll pass a little bit more here and there. We'll see what happens there.
So what's your picks for today? Or do you have?
So I'll go Alcoa, Marion County, and Oakland is what I'll probably go. And the Marion County one, I'm just going by history of what I know from Marion County in the past. Alcoa, I'm friends with one of the coaches. Played ball with him at Tech. Been talking to him off and on a little bit. I just have confidence in what. Here's one. No, so it looks like. How would you like to be this? You go and you get a job. You coach in high school and you coach at Maryville, and you go and you win 10 or 11 state championships, and then you leave Maryville and you go across the street to Alcoa, and then you win another 10 or 12. You got people around here dying to have one ring, to have one championship to your name. And Coach Robertson, my buddy from I played with, he has got 20, I say, between Alcoa and Maryville. He's got, and that'd be just kind of awesome. That's just the system that you're in and where you can be. And once you're on a team like that and you have that on your resume, that helps. Um, but it goes back to just, what are your picks today then?
That's what I was gonna go with. I'm gonna pick Huntington just to be different than even though I think Marion County is a stronger team. With Huntington actually was second in their region. And then they come back in the semifinals and they defeated the team that beat them in their region, which was Loudon, in a big game there. So yeah, I'm gonna pick Huntington. I think they're on the road.
What do you got, Coach Thayer?
I got that we will get the echo taken care of, which we did. It's weird how this mixer at the gym wants this pushed down, but here it doesn't want it pushed down. Makes no sense at all, except for maybe the high speed internet here is faster, which I wouldn't think would have any influence on it at all. But anyway, apologize for any echo inconvenience. We're recording these settings as we go. But anyway, I don't know.
He still thinks that
I
Ray
was
has a chance.
I was too stressed out about the echo. But anyway, it's all good. I think, how can you bet against Alcoa? But I'm going to. Percom's going to beat them.
Procom was what? 0-4? 0-3?
But yeah, but they were playing some big
I
guys.
know, but still, just don't matter who you play. You think you can just get down on that.
Well,
Just,
good
it'd be
coaches,
hard to- I
good
agree.
coaches explain it properly,
I agree.
and they believe in their system, and the kids buy into
And
what
they
they're
have turned
doing,
it around
and they're
put
not
on
wishy
road.
washy, and they trust the coach. I mean, that's the bottom line. Um, I think Huntington's going to beat Marion County. Marion County's got a way of losing when it counts the most sometimes. So we're going to go there. And then Oakland, I just don't see Oakland getting beat, even though they do have the Navy committed quarterback and another quarterback that committed somewhere else too. They got two D1 commits at quarterback, which I guess that works at the quarterback position. At the running back position, all I know is when I was a running back, I wanted the ball. I wanted the ball. I wanted the ball. I wanted the ball. I didn't like to sit and share the ball with other people. So,
He didn't like to share. Can you imagine that?
yeah, did not like to share the ball.
uh,
Well, you can't get your rhythm when you're running back. You may can get it, subbing out at other spots, but when you're a running back, you got to get your rhythm going. And you got to every game's different. Every defense you're playing is a little different. Some are hitting gaps a little bit different, so it takes a couple runs to kind of get a feel for what they're trying to do and what your blockers can accomplish against those linemen. So until I get a few touches, sometimes you're just not sure. But once you get the touches, then you just naturally, instinctively know, okay, this is the adjustment I have to make, and you make it, and you go with it, and you start getting your yards piled up.
you was talking about the kid that you coached, Hassel from FRA. Um, what hurt him, I think, yesterday offensively was they got behind so quick that it almost took them out of the. And that's where I'm saying you think you're behind and you're going, okay, well, let's get up. I think the quarterback chose some passes that shouldn't have been thrown because he's trying to come back and make the big play and go, look, we're back in it type of thing. And by the time second quarter hit, you was behind so much that you took the running game out. You made it pretty predictive on what FRA had to do to make that happen, and and that took hassle out of the running game. You run every now and then just to keep it honest and everything, but the only thing he was going to contribute then would be in the passing game coming out of the backfield if they had to. But I think because they got down so early and so quick, it did take him out. And
Well, they were behind 14-0 before he touched
yeah, so
which is kind of unbelievable. But BGA just their coaching staff is phenomenal. They scouted. They had 2 weeks to scout them, and they had weeks before that too. Because the thing about that division, it's not that strong throughout. So they pretty much knew when they got in they were going to get to the championship game. So that whole time
did they not
they
play each other
scouted.
during the season?
Yeah, FRA
Okay.
beat them. I think 21-14.
Yeah. So
So, and he knew too, it didn't matter. Winning a region championship didn't mean anything to their coach. That's not what his goal was. His goal was to win a state championship. So I didn't see the game. I'd have to go back and look at it, but I bet you $100 the whole what they did on defense was different. What they did on offense, they held some stuff. Even though they do the same thing, they'll try to throw you outs, and then hit you deep, or hit you deep, then outs. That coach, he's just a great job. He's no doubt one of the best coaches in the state of Tennessee, and he's proved it because the 2 seasons he's turned that program around. And I know it's private school, and I know it's the middle division, but they can hang with a lot of schools in this state. They might not can hang with Oakland, but they can hang with a lot of, and they were bigger than I thought they were too. They had some pretty huge kids on the line, so they were a good looking team. They really
I
were.
don't think it was ever. Well, there's never was a question that the private schools couldn't hang with the public schools. It was just because they were able to recruit. I know they don't like that word, but they recruit. It is
Yeah,
what
they
it
tell
is.
you they recruit.
Oh
They
yeah,
offer
they do
kids.
now.
They offer kids that might not have a good environment, and not. Some of them do. They
They offer
offer them a chance.
athletes.
They
They offer
offer them a
athletes.
chance. They do cheerleaders and band members. They give a lot of
I
money out,
understand that, but for
and
their athletic teams, they offer athletes. Not
they do,
so.
and there's nothing absolutely wrong with it.
No, because they're able
There's
to.
kids in certain parts of Nashville that would never have their opportunity that you can have in other areas, and they'll get them out of a bad situation and teach them how to be very outstanding young men. And their school systems are extremely strenuous. When you graduate from some of those schools, you've actually graduated. It's like a small college. It's not just pushing you out the door and hoping you get your degree. So people can hate all they want to, but they do a really good job at getting their kids ready for life, and I've seen a lot of kids get helped a lot by some of the good private schools. And FRE is one of the best academically there is.
Going to basketball. We'll change notes here. We'll go into Kyle's sport here. You ready? Okay. Going to basketball. So this past week, the high school had 2 games. Tuesday night was Hendersonville, a rematch from the first game of the year, and then also another rematch last night against Gallatin. Um, they go on. Let's talk girls first, and I'll let y'all take over, and I'll just add my comments here and there since you're all the basketball people. Um, I'm just a sound guy, so I can't do the job right. But your thoughts. I'll tell you what. I'll throw my thoughts out there. My thoughts on the girls right now is we're not tough enough inside. We don't box out very well. We don't rebound very well. And I know we're trying to find someone to replace Taya. And I think last night we started seeing glimpses of what we can have. I think we played better defensively last night. I think we still are weak inside the paint. Again, I think we're tentative in the paint. We're not very aggressive where we need to be in the paint, is just my thoughts. Again, I'm not the basketball guru or anything like that, but that's what I'm seeing right there. There's some rebounds I think we could have got, and we just didn't fight for them, or what I thought you should have been able to block out more or be more physical. We got to be more physical inside is what I'm looking at. Even though you got Paul and Moot. You know, they're playing, but they're all of a sudden starting to be more outside players and stuff and mid range players. Um, so the people that we got going inside, we're going to have to be more physical inside, is what I'm saying there. Other than that, I think we're starting to find our stride just a little bit, and I think by the time we start in January, um, start to get into the region or district, whatever it's called in basketball, I think we'll be going then and be a whole lot better than what we are right now. So I'll let you take it over, Kyle.
Well, that's pretty much what I was going to say. So
Oh,
you took all my talking points there, which is fine. Um, but yeah, looking at that Hendersonville game, this if we want to review this week's games, the Hendersonville game, uh, too many mistakes right there at midcourt. Too many turnovers as soon as you get into the front court. It led to easy baskets for Hendersonville. I think we figured out there were 19. They had 19 points off turnovers, but that game was much closer than the first game of the year we played against Hendersonville, which uh, was not a good score for the Panthers. So I felt like they battled much harder, and if they could have got rid of those mistakes, that game would have been much closer. Hendersonville girls is a good team, but then looking at that Gallatin game, which we had defeated earlier in the season, uh, things were coming around. Things were being seen that we had talked about even before the season started. Uh, One, I kind of Gorchik Moot, uh, really got going in that game. Uh, and I know, John, you've got the final stats on that one, but I know she had close to 20, if not 20. And if you don't, that's fine.
I do.
Uh,
I was waiting for him to take off with that earbud in and just rip everything out. He started getting excited there.
yeah, she came on, and I really liked her play. It looked like the Gorchik Moot from last season starting to come in here, so I'm glad to see that. But another thing, we talk about the front court was okay, and we're worried about the back court. I can see the improvement, and uh, with Madison Mays and Addie McKelvey coming in, you got a freshman and a sophomore, respectively. There is going to be growing pains, of course, but I like that Coach Stein is giving them minutes. He's of course McKelvey starts, but he has Mays coming in rotating, and she got a lot of minutes last night coming in and out. And there were times when both of them was on the court, which I like that. We talked about the McKelvey and Mays team, or Mays and McKelvey. We're trying to figure out which one sounds better, which direction sounds better.
Either way
Eminem,
sounds
the
good.
Eminem, the Eminem team.
Exactly. And so I think they're getting there. Madison is, I know, and I know what Coach Stein will say. You can do all these things offensively, but I need you on the defense too. So, and I think that's things that's harder to learn going from middle school to high school. You got to learn the defense. You got to learn
Yeah,
the screens. You got to learn how to get around stuff like that. And I get that. And you have miscommunication, and you kind of miss things, and that'll come. But we've got, I don't know, maybe 3 games before the Christmas week, and then they've got the 2 Christmas tournaments. So you got several games that they'll play in a row right there. And yeah, I think by the time January the 1st gets here and we look at our first district game, I think you'll have everything set up pretty good. And if Moot can continue to play to the style that we're expecting her to play, along with Kieva being Miss Double Double almost
Yep.
in the low post and doing that. And of course, you got Paul that can is inside outside, shoots threes, and she can handle the ball and this that. So yeah, I think we'll be competitive. The district is not overwhelming, I guess you'd say, and there's no reason why come middle February that the Lady Panthers aren't just right there in the thick of it as far as the top of the district standings, and I can see it just in the little that we've watched them play and some of the film. I can see that we're getting there.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like I said, not that Coach Stein ever had a gorilla on his back, because it's just a coach's turn. Because you always have haters. It
Yeah.
is what it is. So for him to do last year what he did, no one in Portland has ever done that. If there was any doubts at all about his ability to coach, last year ended it, right? Not that I heard any. I'm just saying, as a coach, you always have people, that just they hate you. It's weird how people want to hate everybody nowadays. But last year when he took the only team ever in the history of Portland High School girls to a state championship, then any kind of hate that he might have had is flushed.
Mhm.
So, and I think as a coach that kind of relieves you too, because if you're a really good coach, you always doubting yourself. You're always trying to find out, trying to, even if you win, you're trying to find another edge. What could I have done better as a coach? When you lose, you always blame yourself first. If you're a good coach, if you're not a good coach, you blame the kids and say we don't have leadership and blah blah blah. And then second, you blame your assistant coaches. And then you don't blame yourself at all. If you never blame yourself as a coach, you're not a good coach. I don't
Right.
care. Period. So if he ever had any of that doubt lingering in, like, am I really cut out for all this kind of stuff with girls? That's all gone. So the good thing about that is now during the regular season, he's not so ate up about wins and losses. He knows what he's got. He's got three girls that can play inside that's got a lot of length. Yes, they need to work on their blocking out. That they always have. They've Nylock. They've always relied on their reaching over people to be able. They have to work hard on blocking out. Bradley, she blocks out really well. She always has blocked out well, but they need to work on that part of their game for sure. And they did last year as well, even when they had their good run. But our weakness is going to be our front court, and it's just because we're young. Our 1-2 guards, back court, 1-2 guards, um, and there is just because they're young. It's not because they're not skilled. So the more time they get on the floor, the more bad times they have. You don't learn when things are going good. You learn when things are going bad, especially at the point guard. When you're getting mugged and you're getting knocked over and you're getting fouled and they're not calling a foul, that's when you learn. And the more that happens to them, the better the more they're going to grow from it. As long as the girls have the right attitude and their parents too. This is where it takes good parenting was when you go home. You pet them a little bit because they're young pups, but then you tell them, hey, suck it up, right? You signed up for this gig. Do you want to just go play JV and not tell Coach Stein you don't want anything to do with playing varsity? We'll go in and talk to him about it. Or do you want to play varsity? And if you do, then okay, we love you. I'm proud of you for getting out there, but get over it. Get back out there and punch back.
Right.
And they will because they've made big strides in the two games that I've watched them play. And then it's just not them. We've got some younger girls. Sharplet. She's sitting there trying to get her footing. I think she's going to be a real good rebounder for us once she gets a little comfortable about where she needs to be and not be. The Lindsay, she's all over the place defensively.
Mm-hmm.
Every now and then when she touches the ball, she's a little spasmic, like she's just going a little quick. And she's in just two games, you could see her settle down. But defensively, she's tough. She's all over the place. And I could call out other girls, but there's a real good nucleus there that's come back, and there's a nucleus there that's younger that is going to get their feet.
So you got to mesh them.
Yeah, you got to mesh
You
them.
got to get that, and I think that's why he does a lot of rotating. I mean, I can't remember a time I've seen so much in and out.
Yeah, and
from
he's
the
trying to
Lady
find
Panthers.
combinations
He's trying
that
to find
work.
who's clicking.
Right.
Who's gonna
And
do
last
what I
night,
need them to
we
do.
had our sophomore and freshman guards both in at the same
Exactly.
time, and they both looked really good
yeah,
and best,
I like that.
very defensive oriented too.
Yeah.
So the key is Coach Stein knows what he's doing. He's got some talent. We've got some young growth we got to
Yeah.
do, but they're going to work out as long as they keep working hard.
The thing about the young guards, yes, they make mistakes. Yes, they got to do some things better, but they're not overwhelmed by the situation. It doesn't look like to me.
Right. At
They're
Hendersonville,
fine. They're fine.
yeah, at Hendersonville they
there.
looked a little deep,
The press kind of got them,
It did.
but
but it's
I don't
going
know.
to.
I don't feel like it overwhelmed them as much as they just made a few bad passes.
Right. Every now and then they're just
But-
going to have to elbow someone in the nose and get them
that's
off of
true.
them. And then once they do that, I think, and if you, I
gotta
mean,
do-
look
you
at
gotta
it.
elbow them subtly.
Well,
though,
and
but-
look at it the way Bradley, when she gets a rebound,
Yeah.
she comes out and early on she's set that tone. One, she doesn't drop the ball low.
Mhm.
When you drop the ball low, then all they got to do is reach in and grab it. When she gets it, she has intent. And guards normally aren't that aggressive. They need to learn that when they get it, you have to have intent. Like in the boys, you're not going to get in front of Keelan Dalton. When he gets a rebound, you better back off. And it's not because he's going to hit you with an elbow, but he's got shoulders too.
Yeah.
He knows how to use his body as weapons without being weapons. And you learn that as you get older. And Bradley's great at it. She was great at it last year. You don't mess around with her. If she gets a rebound, you better back off because you're going to get a shoulder, and not intentional, but it's just the way you rebound. You have to be aggressive on rebound.
You're talking about the front court being young and everything. They're young right now, and so like you said, the more minutes they get, the better they're going to become later in the year when you're really going to have to count on them. And this week alone, they got 3 games. The girls have 3 games this week from what the Panther app was showing. Tuesday night against East Rob, Thursday at Christian County up in Kentucky, and then Friday night against Joe Burns. So you've got 3 games right here in 1 week that you can get them a lot of playing minutes and everything like that. And what you're hoping for, what I didn't agree with yesterday, listen to the broadcast of the football games Thursday night and last night is you got these quarterbacks who are sophomores and they're going, man, he's just a sophomore. You're 15 games into the year. You're not a sophomore no more. So right now these girls are playing like they're freshmen and sophomores. So you're young. They have to learn. And like y'all were saying, they have to learn how to deal with those presses, where to make your passes at, where your help's coming from. And right now they're making bad decisions, just like these quarterbacks would do early in the year. They're making bad reads, throwing interceptions or missing the pass because they're not. They have to make the read. They have to see it. So the more games they, excuse me, the more games they get to play, the more presses that people try to go with them, and the more practices they get in and handling the ball, they'll start understanding where their help is coming from, where they can't turn to. Like Coach Larry said, I can't. There was one last night. I think they inbounded, and they were right there on the line on the end line. I think they threw it to Bradley, and Bradley was right there on the end line. Almost dropped it, but they ended up fouling us. And you made the comment, we don't want it to be there. Get down the court a little bit farther when you pass it in. Don't pass it right there on the line, because she could have dropped it, and you're right there on the line. But
Yeah,
but
it's called no fly zones. You
uh,
can't you can't take the ball out of that area. I mean, if it's a last gasp deal, you do, but you're going to get tied right back up. So there's just no point in it. There's just, that's like when point guards go to the corners in trap situations. It's not the good place because when you're in a corner, where you got to go get out
you can't
through
go nowhere.
people,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's not where you go. And that's what they learn in Pee Wee basketball early on is go to the little corners because it's safe over there. Well, it ain't safe because you can't escape.
But
So you just got to play Super Mario all the time when you're a point guard on the basketball.
but that's where again, the more games you play, the more situations you're putting in, and I do like you said, I like the way Coach Stein is putting them out there, letting them play, and then hopefully, and I know they are. Hopefully, the girls will sit there and watch film and go, I see what Coach Stein is saying now about being in this situation. There's my help. I couldn't see it because I had girls all around me, but I see my help coming over here, and that's where it's going to be coming from. So now I know when I get to the situation, my help's going to be coming over here. I don't have to look for it. I know it's coming, and being comfortable with that and
What
everything.
hurts in I mean, in high school too, is your starters, and I'm not dogging the bench warmers. The bench warmers are bench warmer, but you don't get the pressure that you need to get. One thing that I hate recommending stuff. No, I don't. It's 7-on-5 is really good when you put the two extras out front. You're scrimmaging 7-on-5,
Mm-hmm.
where
Yeah.
your 1 and 2 guards are having to actually go against 2 people the whole time.
Right.
And that really helps get point guards to grow at an early age, early on. So, but I think that matters, and that helps a whole lot. When you go against more competition than you need to. It's a thing on 7-on-7 football. Those times I'd probably go 9-on-7 in practice just to throw more people out there for the quarterback to have to deal with. You know, looking at. And we've had a pleasant surprise.
Uh, with the girls, uh, again, they play Tuesday night against East Rob, Thursday night against Christian County at East Rob, and they're finally home Friday night against Joe Burns. So that gives them 3 games to sit there and figure out what they're going to do there and see if we can make improvements from what we saw this past week. The boys, um, last night's game, for my take, they play very physical. Like you said, you got some guys who like to play physical, and you were right last night from what I saw. They like to play fast, and it looks like they're better when they play fast.
They have to play
And
fast because they don't have a lot of big size inside, but they have a lot of good athletes. And when you have a lot of good athletes that all can dribble, all can pass, all can shoot, you run the ball. Period. That's just the way you do it.
But if you're done with the girls, we can go move on
Can
to
we
the
give
boys.
scores
Yeah.
last night?
Well,
Though?
Oh, there you go. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah.
I mean, they are 4-4, so we'll throw that out there. The record is 4-4.
Yeah. Well, last night
WWE.
McKelvey had 7, Paul had 11, Moot had 23, Bradley had 10, Mays had 2. We were 8 from 6 from the free throw line. So that might not mean a lot, but when we do the
6 of 8.
boys, 6 for 8 from the free throw line, that might not mean a lot. But when we talk about the boys' free throw shooting in a little while, you'll be highly impressed.
Did Curtis give you that stat on the free
He
throws?
did give me the
Okay,
stat.
he sent it to me too. 13 of 29 from free
Yeah,
throws.
I've got 10 for 27. So that's going to be interesting. And I'm not, I don't know. I don't think Curtis kept up with that. I think he got it from the scoring. Did Curtis keep up with the thing? If Curtis kept up with it, then I trust his stats over mine.
I don't know.
But if he went to the scoring table, then I want to look at their book and compare it with mine. Because the one free throws, and I could be wrong. I'll count it up on our next break maybe, and look at it. But either way, it wasn't very good.
It was under 50%, whichever way you look at it.
It was way under 50%, wasn't it?
13 for 29 is not way under.
No.
10 of 27 or whatever it is.
Yeah, we scored 56 points. I'm gonna have to
45%.
we're gonna have to recalculate mine. If I wasn't hungry and tired last night, I would have redone it. But I wanted to eat and go to bed.
So the boys won 56-52
Yep.
in a game that should not have been that close, per what you just mentioned.
Right.
If we'd started making our free throws there in the second half, that game would have probably gotten out of hand pretty quickly, I think. But Gallatin, a very athletic team, and as was mentioned, Mad Dog did mention that he looked back and didn't find a season where the boys had beaten Hendersonville and Gallatin 2-0 for both teams in the same season. Couldn't find that, so that's a big deal. But a big game last night for them that improves their record to 5-3, and I don't know. You got your whole starting five pretty much coming back. Of course, you've got Ferguson now that's in the starting
Can I
five.
borrow your pen? I got 11 for 29. I got it worse than Curtis though. So he's the 9-29 is good. I gotta find 2 more shots here. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
But that's what I
But-
do. That's you've gotten used to it by now.
Yeah. But I think you're starting to see now the experience of the guys that came back from last year, and they're expected to do a lot. Now, again, we've already spoke. Avery's out for the season, so someone's got to fill in. You don't really have the big guy, but another one of the pros that I thought about in last night's game was the role players that came in. I really thought Will Cottle coming off the bench, Elijah Sidnor coming off the bench were steady. Cottle had a couple of good scoring plays and played good on defense. Sidnor didn't make mistakes. He did his job. He guarded his man. He gave minutes, and he got more minutes than normal last night because he was doing what he needed to do. And of course, having Evan Brown coming in as your sixth man is I wasn't sure how that would work at first, but so far I like it because he comes in, brings immediate energy to the squad, and again had another good game last night defensively. Had another great game, and having him come in to do that, they just got to make their free throws. The free throws was just rough.
Will surprised me on his offensive play. I think he's more of a defensive play. I think him being able to play, and it's the same thing with Avery. Him playing defensive end and playing football has helped him understand leverage a little bit. So I think that helps him defensively, and I think that's where they're trying to count on him there. But the couple plays he had offensively, and he took that one ball and faked, had his back to the basket, faked right, and stepped inside, and he was a good 5-6 feet away when he first started, and then he stepped inside,
That was a
and he
legitimate
was
basketball move.
I was like,
Good.
wow, look at that. And then he come down, and he's moving and everything, and he had a great game, and hopefully he continues. He could be someone that has surprisingly shows up and now gives you help on the inside against some of the bigger guys and everything. And he'll have to learn like last year, just like Avery had to learn last year, playing against the big guys. It took him a while to understand and all that, but I think eventually he'll understand that. But like you said, and then Sidnor sat there and come in. He didn't really flash a whole lot, but what he did was he was consistent. He guarded the guy he was supposed to guard. He was able to sit there and be where he needed to be. And you're thinking, well, it doesn't show up on the stat sheets, but a lot of times your star players don't show up on the stat sheets. Just like, we sat there and talked about Kyron Haley as a defensive lineman. Everything he did this past year in football is amazing, and he's not going to be on the stat sheets. But what he did, if you watch film, did what he did his role. So at that point in time, and that's what Sidnor's doing is he's just playing his role, and you got to have those guys coming off the bench, and the same thing with Brown when he comes off the bench and everything.
Yeah, Brown's not really a bench guy though. I would say, what's it called when you go 6 deep on starters? He's kind of like that kind of guy. I mean, he's put a lot of time in as a starter, so I consider him 5A kind of guy, 5B
Yeah.
deal. The only thing I had a problem with Sidnor, that one shot he took in the corner at the time of the game, I was extremely ill-advised.
True, but he was open.
He was open,
He was
but
open.
there's open at times of games that you don't even need to think about you're open. You need to think about rotating the ball a little bit, getting some time to go off. There's moments in games you have to know what the situation is, and all because you're open doesn't necessarily say you should shoot it. Period. I think the bottom
Got
is
to give the dog a bone. Let him have his moment.
not when there's 2.5 minutes left in the
I
game
know,
and
but
it's
if that would
close.
have went in,
And
it would
he
have been
hasn't,
awesome.
and
the
there hasn't
whole
been a bucket.
cheering section would have been.
That's
Yeah.
true, and there hadn't been a bucket made all night from the hand. But
Um,
that's just me. I'm a coach when it comes to that, and I'm not changing from that. At that time of the game, that shot didn't need to get taken.
with
But he did play great. He gave a lot of good minutes, and he's a big help. And we need him down the stretch for sure if we're going to make a run for it.
with Brown, you could be looking at also depending on what the lineup is that you're facing. That's where you could be sitting there going, hey, he needs to be in there, and someone else needs to be the 5B player
Right.
and everything, depending on what lineup you're looking at, what you're trying to do that game for against that team. So it could be a situational thing.
Right.
Also
I think
with
right
him.
now, Evan, his shot's not going the way he wants it, even though against Hendersonville, he came out and got a real spark. But I think that's kind of bothering him a little bit mentally, and he needs to let that go because what he brings to the floor is more than just scoring, right? When he's in the game, the scoring isn't what we need from him the most. What we need from him the most is his situational defense. He's a great defender. He's in spots that some people can't get in. He irritates the crap out of the other team when he's guarding them. On rebounds, he'll cut through and slice through and get rebounds that are just laying loose there. He's just a great garbage player like Honeycutt. Honeycutt gives us a lot of great garbage minutes. And those garbage stuff takes charges. Brown and Honeycutt both are the two best on the team as taking charges. And those things, people don't watch them a whole lot, pay a lot of attention to them. But when you take a charge, not only did you get the ball back, you gave the other team a foul to go against them. So that stuff really adds up, and it's very unselfish play. And that's where Brown really adds to that. He just needs to not worry about his shot. If it's going, great. If it's not, don't worry about it. You've got other parts of your game that we need you to give us. And he's a major contributor to what's going on.
And this week they only have 2 games, where the girls have 3. This week they have the Tuesday night game at East Rob, and then Friday night's game against Joe Burns. East Rob game again is at East Rob, and then Joe Burns is at home at in Portland here. And so, are y'all guys thinking that? Are we needing more games as of right now? Or are we playing enough games where, like the girls, I think they need more games. Them playing 3 games this week is going to be good for them for what they're trying to do and what they're trying to find. Are the boys? You need more games. Everybody
But
needs more games,
I think
but
it's enough because when you look at those Christmas tournaments, you got the week of Christmas. They'll have 3 games, I think, and then if you look at the week after Christmas, they'll have 3 or 4 games right there in a row. Of course, that kind of gets you prepared for tournament play when you're playing back to back like that. I think it's good because I've always worried going into January that they've played too much because there's been times where it seems like there's 18 games by the time you get to the second week of January, and I'm thinking, wow, that just seems like a lot of games. I think it's good the way he's got it scheduled out. And looking at East Robertson, we mentioned last night, they're kind of in a rebuild mode, I guess you'd say, start over mode. So they're not as powerful as they was 2 to 3 years ago. Looks to be that way, kind of getting the rotation back. Joe Burns, though, I'm looking forward to that game. Who can forget 4 overtimes last year in Portland Gymnasium? So I'm looking forward to them coming in next Friday. And that's always like a jump game. It's not a district game. It's not even a local team. But for some reason, it was like them and Smith County. For some reason, whenever they come in, it's just a lot of energy.
Yeah, and through the years, Joe Burns basketball is kind of what they hang their hat on. Back going 70 years back, you know what I mean? They might on a football field can't say, well, we don't have enough kids in the program to put a good football team out year in, year out, right? You have your generational groups. And baseball, I'm not even talking about their baseball program. But basketball is the thing where if they can get 5 kids that are pretty good athletes, that are hustlers, they can come out and beat, big dogs. They can go over to Clarksville and give them games and stuff. So that's one thing. Exactly. They always come in, and you don't want to go Joe Burns. In the old days, they used to pack that thing up. It was like Hoosiers in a state tournament kind of thing, because that was the games they thought they could compete with anybody, and their coach used to play for them. I mean, he gets right out in there and he understands the whole deal. So Joe Burns is always a good game of basketball to play. It's good for your team. Because they're going to be scrappy.
Yeah, and last year they had a 20-win season, right there at the regional finals, and they didn't quite get there. This year they're already off to a hot start, so I just think it's going to be a good game.
And I remember their coach.
Not overlooking the team on Tuesday. I'm just saying I'm looking forward to the game on Friday.
Right. And I remember their coach. He played back in 2000, 2001 too. So he was
Real good guy.
Yeah, good basketball player, and it's fun to watch. It's kind of cool. You remember seeing him play against your son in those groups, Jake Daltrey and all them. And then now, it spins around. Now he's coaching. It's kind of cool. It makes you feel older, but it's still kind of cool.
That's a good point.
We done with that?
Yeah.
So we'll remember that we're broadcasting Tuesday night's game at East Rob. We'll start at about 5:50ish whenever Kyle gets ready, and we'll go on air.
Gets his makeup on and his voice toned up. And I got 12 for 29 free throws. So that's closer than, but I believe Curtis over anybody.
And then Friday night's game also will be broadcast on the Portland Sports Network.
Yeah, I won't be there for
versus. So, man, you're gonna have to go with the backup here. The backup to the backup to the backup.
We'll be all right.
Well, we're gonna be reaching. That's gonna be all you then. So, but we're gonna take a break, and when we come back, we'll have Coach Kyle Lane, the new head coach of Portland Middle School, old head coach of Portland Middle School, however you want to label it. But we'll talk about kind of his career, where he's been, what he's gone through, and where he's looking to go, and how everything is going to be. And you're listening to Sports Saturday Off the Rails here on Portland Sports Network.
Christmas is right around the corner, and so is Graphic Obsessions on Main in Portland. Tell them about it, Elfie.
Wow, Graphic Obsessions has so much cool stuff, Santa. The new location on Main is packed with all kinds of gifts for everyone. They even do embroidery and have a custom hat bar.
Sounds like I need to get to Graphic Obsessions. Graphic Obsessions on Main is in a larger space and has more to choose from than ever. Tons of Panther designs we can print in minutes. Tons of inventory you can grab right off the rack today. And the amazing new hat bar, where you can customize your own hat. See a design you love but not in your size? We'll print it in just minutes. So many unique gift items right in the store. With the holidays fast approaching, remember, shop early at Graphic Obsessions. Graphic Obsessions on Main is your Portland Panther football headquarters for Panther apparel. Don't see it in your size? Just ask, and we'll print it on your size in minutes. From t-shirts and caps to hoodies and more, Graphic Obsessions on Main has what you need to support the Panther football season. Christmas is right around the corner, and so is Graphic Obsessions on Main in Portland. Tell them about it, Elfie.
Wow, Graphic Obsessions has so much cool stuff, Santa. The new location on Main is packed with all kinds of gifts for everyone. They even do embroidery and have a custom hat bar.
Sounds like I need to get to Graphic Obsessions soon and get my list all taken care of.
Graphic Obsessions on Main in Portland. Visit our Facebook.
While the hosts and guests are encouraged to express their views, they don't necessarily
No.
All right, we're back to Off the Rails here. Hope you heard the commercials. If you're not, you're familiar with them. It's Donna Sadler and Graphic Obsessions. Just get over there and buy the stuff. You can see it. But we're back. We got a very special guest with us.
We got
Somebody that you
Kyle-
like.
Kyle,
The
his
new
name is
football
Kyle.
coach.
The new football
forever.
coach.
The new football coach has been here forever.
Yeah. different titles, different schools. So, Coach, how you doing?
I'm good. It's nice. This is my downtime. You know, October to February, I don't think about football very much, but I've had to here the last few months because of all the new stuff that's happening. But yeah, I'm nice and relaxed and recharged and ready to get going.
So, how many years now have you been coaching?
Too many.
Yeah,
Uh,
trust me.
my first year as an assistant coach would have been 2000. Let's see, let's do the math. So 2007 and 2008, I was the head coach at Portland Middle School. So 2006, 2005, 2004, I was the assistant coach at Portland Middle School. So 2004 was my first season as a coach, and in 2007 was my first season as a head coach.
And so the weird and odd thing, I guess you want to, if you want to sit there and call it that, is you were the last head coach of Portland Middle School, and then they split, and then you have been the only coach that Portland West has seen. Portland East has went through.
6.
Is that okay?
Yeah, Combs, Reese, Judd, Inman, Hicks, Combs.
Okay. And so, and now you're coming back to be the head coach of the Portland Middle School once it's combined. Kind of, talking about this, kind of give us a small history of how this came about. Why the combination? Why now? And what is it that we're looking for, and what is it that the county is kind of allowing it to, because it allowed it to happen? Is other teams going to try to do the same thing or anything like that?
Coach Combs and I have been talking about it pretty much since he come back. So the last 2 or 3 years, we've talked about, it first started kind of as a joke. Man, wouldn't it be good if we were combined, and then it got a little bit more serious. Man, it really would be good if we were combined. And then last year, I said something to Coach Combs like, hey, still thinking about maybe trying to figure out if we can combine. He's like, if things keep going the way that they're going with our season, and then next year we have similar success, then yeah, we're going to talk about it. So about mid-season this year, Coach Combs texted me and said, I'm ready to talk about it. I said, okay, let me know what I need to do. So, Coach Combs, he really took the ball with this and ran with it. He's the one that got all the information together as far as, trying to pitch it to the county. Portland East was, essentially Portland East asked for this, and Portland West said, we're okay with it. They did all the legwork on it. They did all the information finding, all that type of stuff. And when they first pitched it to the county originally said no, because like you said, they're worried, maybe Hawkins and Ellis want to try to do this. Maybe Schaefer and Rucker want to try to do this. And, the sticking point, the main talking point with it was, Coach Combs and the East squad have suffered so many catastrophic season-ending injuries over the last few years. And they've had to put kids out there on the football field that, quite frankly, didn't need to be out there for fear of injury or just skill level or those types of things. And we've had the last couple of years at West, we've kind of been in the same boat. We haven't had as successful seasons as we've had in the past. So East pitched it that way to the county. Hey, we've had so many injuries. Our numbers are so low. It's just getting to the point where we don't feel like we are able to field a safe football team. It has nothing to do with competitiveness. It has to do with the safety of our kids. And like I said, the county said no. Then they came back and they said, we're going to think about it. And I think what happened was, and I hope I'm not saying anything that I shouldn't say, but TCAT down here, the Tennessee College of Applied Technology, they're looking into expanding, and they're going to be taking in East Practice Field as kind of a staging area for construction for the next couple of years. So East won't have anywhere to practice. So what the county's told us is, for the next 2 years, we're going to let y'all combine, and then we're going to reevaluate and see what's happening with East Practice Field. How did this go? What's the kind of thoughts in the community? What's the thoughts within the county? And after 2 years, we may split back.
Wow.
I
Okay.
don't know that they'll ever put that toothpaste back in the tube. It's kind of hard to reset once you've done it.
Yeah.
But as of now, we're kind of in a holding pattern. We're going to get to do this for 2 years, and then there's going to be a reevaluation process, and then we'll go from there.
I heard the practice field, like you said, the expansion of TCAT. I heard it's being turned into a parking lot. So you go back to going, okay, in 2 years, you're not going to have a practice field. Are you going to be able to practice on the game field? Well, you're not going to be able to practice. Not that middle school kids can tear up a game field.
Right.
Okay, they're
You're not gonna be
it
out
just
there every day.
exactly. And so you go back to where then are you going to practice?
Yeah.
And
trying to find a location off campus is a nightmare. I mean, I guess you could try to go across the street and practice at Meadowbrook or something, but they did that in 2009 when Knox Dawes at Drakes Creek opened up. They were having to practice off campus. Coach Hicks can tell you about that. He was the head coach there at the time, and that was very difficult for him to try to get his guys off campus to practice every day. It's just not a good situation.
well, you did off campus per se
Yeah,
for
across the street,
several
right?
years. You just went across the street, but I mean, there's land there. If and that's the thing. If you're shipping, that's going to be another question I ask: is the logistics of trying to get these. Now that it's done, let's go this way. Now that it's done, what's the logistic? Is it a logistical nightmare trying to get the kids from east over to west to work out, to go through spring ball, to go through fall camp and all that? Because you can't just take a bus and go, hey, you guys are going on this bus and coming over there, because all the buses are taken to be, to deliver kids back home. And a lot of times you have to wait for them to be done before you get a bus. And that's, how that is on game nights when you have to travel. So if a bus breaks down or something trying to deliver kids home, and that's the bus you're supposed to be taking, then you're delayed and everything. But, how is it? And I know in the come January, February, when we start taking the eighth graders from East, who's going to play for the high school, they're being shipped over, and they get over there about 3 o'clock is about the time they get to the high school. So I guess it's going to be about the same thing for y'all. Is they'll take that bus that goes to West, and then we'll get there. So there's no getting out there early with anybody, because you'll have to wait for them to get there, and so your practices will be delayed just a little bit and everything.
Yeah, our school lets out at 2:55. It's always been my goal to walk out the locker room door at 3:10 to head towards the practice field. I'm anticipating us probably not be able to walk out the door until about 3:20, 3:25 now. So it'll push our practice back 10, 15 minutes maybe, which isn't that big of a deal. The good news about the busing situation is essentially the county put this on us. So the county has to figure out how to get those kids to us. We don't have to try to figure that out. So that falls on transportation. Of course, we have to ask and all that kind of stuff. But that's East has already Miss Rippey and Miss Dove at Portland East, the principals. They've already reached out to transportation, and they're working on trying to figure out what to do. But the onus of that getting the kids to our building, it falls on the county now. Originally I thought maybe the kids would have to be shipped, bused over to the high school and then walk across the street, because no buses travel from east to west. They go from east to the high school, but not from east to west. But we were told by transportation by the county, they will come to west. So there'll be a special bus that picks up those kids at Portland East and brings them across town to Portland West.
Special bus, huh?
No, don't put words in my mouth. I didn't say it. Yeah, I guess I did say a special bus.
Hey, it's a special bus. You didn't say it was a short bus.
Yeah,
It was
exactly.
a special bus.
It's going to be a bus that takes them over there, and and yes, the logistical part of it is what I'm having the most difficult time wrapping my brain around, because we've been at West since 2009. I know how it works. I know exactly what the next day is going to look like. I know once boys get in the locker room, how we're going to proceed. I'm a very routine oriented person.
You know who's there, who's absent, who's missing because of
Exactly.
this, and you won't know that unless they give you a call or something like that.
Coach Combs and I are going to communicate quite a bit. And Coach Combs is really going to be like a pseudo head coach over at Portland East. He's going to be the head coach in that building. And I even said as much to the East administration, like, hey, Coach Combs needs more than the typical assistant coach supplement, because he's going to be doing more than a typical assistant coach will, because he's going to have to take on some head coaching responsibilities in that building. So they're looking at getting him, a little extra stipend on top of what he normally would get to be an assistant coach, because of the added responsibilities.
Kind of looking in the fall, what does it do for the schedule? I've heard rumors that it's going to be small school versus big schools. It's not going to be north versus south or east versus west type, because that's how the divisions were split. I do know that you don't have, excuse me, you don't have to go looking for a game outside of the district, because you're now back into even teams with Liberty Creek coming in last year, or the last couple of years, and now we're dropping a team. We're even again, so we're gonna have even divisions and everything. But explain kind of how that's going to play out with the small school versus big schools and stuff.
So since Liberty Creek come in 2022, we've had 11 teams in the county, meaning one team every week had a bye week, and you could fill that bye week with an outside the county team. We did that for a couple of years. We filled it with Macon County for 2 years. We filled it with Franklin Simpson for 2 years. Or no, sorry, Macon County 1 year and Franklin Simpson 1 year. Other teams in the county have had to do that too. Now that we're combining East and West, we're back to 10 teams. Now what they did do is they combined our populations. So we have over 800 kids in our building now. Quote, 800 in our building, because we have 2 buildings. And they realigned our division, our county, into big and little. We've got a AA division and a single A division. So they just took the populations of the 10 schools. They drew an arbitrary line underneath team number 5. And now you got 5 big schools that are in a division and 5 little schools in a division. Our division in the AA, let me get it pulled up here. I had it ready because I know you're going to ask. Our division is Knox Doss, Station Camp, Liberty Creek, White House, and Portland. And of course, we've always had that rivalry game, week 8, East versus West. Well, we lost that game. So naturally, White House fits into that rivalry week now. And White House never has had a rivalry game for week 8, because they didn't have a natural rivalry in the county except for Portland. So their open week has always been week 8. So now Portland and White House can play each other week 8 in rivalry week. So it kind of fit nicely there. So, and then the other thing that changes this year that hasn't happened yet before is there's going to be 2 championship games. There will be the top 2 teams from the AA division playing for the AA championship, and the top 2 from the single A playing in the single A championship. And those single A schools are Ellis, Hawkins, Hunter, Schaefer, and Rucker.
Wow.
Okay? Yeah. So that's your single A teams. Hunter now is like 550 kids. They're basically the size of West, because
they lose because Liberty Creek
has pulled so many kids from them. They haven't lost their stellar athletes, but they've lost some of their just general population. And then, like we talked about a second ago, every 2 years they're going to come back and reevaluate this, and we'll reclassify, just like you do in the high school ranks. We'll reclassify and draw that arbitrary line again underneath team number 5, and you'll have new divisions.
Who fits in the small classification, who fits in the large.
And we did also discuss maybe having where the 2 champions play each other in an overall championship game. But for now, since there's so much change happening this year, they wanted to kind of limit what we're doing. So maybe 2 years from now, we'll reevaluate and maybe have an overall championship.
That's going to be hard too, because you're going to play your 8 games,
and
then you have your champion game, and they moved it from a Saturday to a Tuesday, or from a Tuesday to a Saturday, and then you have to get it done before Thanksgiving or before fall break and everything. So if you add another game, you already get moved up a week or 2 to get it all in.
Game this year on the first day of school.
So that's So you're trying, and that's just crazy. I understand. I know we've talked about it. We've been together for a long time. We talked about it for years, about trying why we have to get everything done before fall break, because that really does cram everything in, sets everything up. Because early on, you're dealing with the heat and everything, and then once you finally get into, like this year, it was amazing that y'all were done and we were like week 4.
I know.
I was like, my gosh, that's just crazy. Now you're going to sit there and have to do it again. So if they add a super championship, if they go with that, it's going to be, and then you're going to have, now you get into the gamesmanship of how your students are counted, and everything,
Yeah.
as in, hey, we want to be in that big division or we want to be in that small division and everything. And so, it's
So you still have 8 games.
Correct.
So you're not going up to 9 games. So you'll play everybody in the large division and then everybody but one in the smaller division.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Are you going to be responsible now for scheduling?
I was, yes.
So-
I made the schedule, and it was way simpler this time.
Okay, okay.
10 teams, everybody falls in. It's nice and easy. I actually went back all the way to 2009 when East and West opened, and Knox Doss opened at that time too. And I saw who had skipped who from 2009 to 2025, and I made a chart. And so for this new one, I tried to grab the teams that people had skipped the least amount of times or the most amount of times, and made it where
Okay.
kind of
Okay.
equitable and,
Yeah.
and balance things out. Of course, it's not balanced right now, but over the course of time going forwards, I can continue to kind of balance that out. And now we can say, well, they never have to play that team. Somebody's cheating. No, I've got a chart here that shows how many times they've been skipped over the course of history, and we're just making sure that we try to get that thing as balanced as possible.
so that way no one can sit there and say, you've only played 103 times
Right.
and we played 112.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to get even. I like that. A lot of people would not have thought about that. They would have just sit there and threw teams together and said, there you go. And, it is what it is. So,
I tried to make it as fair and equitable as possible, trying to make it, because I don't want anybody to try to accuse me of doing something, under the table or dirty, So I want to look at everything I can look at and do it the best way that I can think of. Of course, somebody else may think of another way that's better. I can only do what my brain tells me to do, but I felt like that was the best way to do it, and that's what I went ahead and did. And all the coaches agreed they thought it was a good schedule, so we moved forward with it.
so kind of, what is your agenda now with what's going on? When do you start back up? When do you get the kids together? How long are you going to have them? Spring practice, fall camp, summer workouts, all that stuff. Kind of, do you have that already planned, or are you kind of still in? I know you're in your off season mode
Yeah.
right now, but
No, it's tentatively been happening. I've been having to think about football a lot more this off season just because of this. But we'll get started in February. Right now, it looks like somewhere around February 9th or so. That's tentative, so nobody quote me on that. But somewhere in that mid-February range, we get started. Spring practice looks like it's going to happen right there at the end of April, 1st of May. I've already got station camp lined up, and it's a scrimmage.
I was
there.
going to ask, you lose your
Just
scrimmages.
lose our scrimmage partner before
Yeah.
these. That was one of the questions one of my players had. Is like, Coach, when we do this, we won't have anybody to scrimmage. I was like, we'll find somebody to scrimmage. Let me worry about that. So yeah, and I thought, if we're gonna jump in the big pool and play the big boys, let's go ahead and scrimmage station camp here in the spring just to kind of see what we got and see
Yep.
how it all works out and go from there. So I've got that figured out. Basically, nothing really changes, and that's what I told our guys when I met with them and told them about all this, because we met with the players and Coach Combs and myself met with our respective groups at the same time on the same day to give them the same message, and then that message went out on Facebook directly after that. So we kind of had a coordinated blast that went out to everybody at the same time. But I told them, I said, guys, nothing's really going to change for us. We're still going to have the same locker room, same practice field, same everything. The only thing that's going to change is we're going to add in some more athletes to our football team so we can be more competitive. So things will look very similar for us. It's just a matter, like I said, it's those logistical things, getting those kids over there. How do I keep track of who's in trouble? How do I keep track of who's at school and those different things? And then also the increase in numbers. That's been my biggest thinking point is, do I need to increase my helmet inventory? Do I need to increase my jersey inventory? All those different things, we did a lot of legwork on the first of trying to make sure we're not going to be Portland West. We're going to be Portland Middle School.
Yeah.
Okay? It is a cooperative. This is what they would call a cooperative. And basically what happens in a cooperative is if the school that you attend does not offer the sport that you want to play, you can go and attend or play at the nearest school. And that's what a cooperative is. I know we've had kids from Westmoreland come run track from Portland back in the day and different stuff. Todd Lambert told me that there's a cooperative hockey program between Hendersonville Beach and somebody else down there.
We got one with the fishing right now. We had a fishing team. Now we don't have a fishing team. It's Eli Baird. We talked about it. He'll be on the show in a couple of weeks. His partner now is a kid out of station camp because I don't know if PHS did away with it or it just the county kind of went, let's just go a county thing and do it like that. So yeah.
So typically in a cooperative, the host school retains the name. So, if I've got kids from Westmoreland running track at Portland, it's not the Portland Westmoreland track team, it's
Right.
the Portland track team. We decided for community support, for collective, buy-in, just for all the fields more or less to be Portland Middle School to drop the West, which actually works out good for us. My principals were asking about maybe some, we're gonna have to pay money to buy some new stuff. We only have one jersey that says West on it. Out of our 4 jerseys that we have, one says West on the back of it. We'll take it out of the rotation for the next few years. So none of these kids are gonna have to go to East with West plastered all over their stuff. We're not gonna be the Portland West football team and all that type of stuff. It's just gonna be Portland Middle, and I told Coach Combs, if and when we win a championship, we're hanging a banner in the West Gym and we're hanging a banner in the East Gym. We're going to try to make this thing as collective, as unified as possible. Of course, there's going to be some hiccups along the way. Somebody's probably going to end up getting their feelings hurt or something like that. But we're really trying to put as much time and effort and thought into it to make it right.
Yeah.
For lack of a better phrase.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
So, no limit on the amount of players that you're going to allow. If you want to play and you want to come out, you can come out. So if East has 25 kids or whatever, all 25 will move over. No big deal.
Right. Yes. And any kid that Coach Combs and I've always operated under the premise of if you played for us the year before, you're going to play for us the next year, unless you decide you don't want to. So East has 14 returning players. We have 20 returning players. All 34 of those kids are welcome to be on this football team. If they decide they don't want to, that's fine.
And then you're going to have tryouts.
And then we'll have, tryouts, and kids will come out, and we'll have, extra kids that are 7th graders and 8th graders from both schools. And I'm anticipating this to be maybe somewhere in the 60s or so. And of course, that's
Locker room okay with that?
I have 61 lockers in my locker room, so I've got enough. And when we first opened up West, Miguel may not remember, but we had to double up lockers those first few years. We'd have 65 kids on the team at first.
I had 2 kids sharing them.
We have 2 kids sharing a locker and stuff like that. So that's not something we've not had to do in the past. The last few years we haven't had to do that. We've usually started out somewhere in the neighborhood of about 50 or so. But I'm anticipating 60, 70, somewhere in that range of players to begin with.
So you were talking about. Excuse me. You were talking about the equipment, your jerseys and everything. I know you have a tremendous, the way you do your equipment, how you circulate it in and out and everything, helmets and how they can be reconditioned and you can't use it anymore. And you have a way of how you order stuff and when you order stuff, that way you're not hit with, oh, we got to do helmets, shoulder pads and pants and jerseys. This year it's always going to be something is going to be done that year, and that's kind of how it all goes. Do you have enough equipment to do 60, 70 players, or are you going to have to start buying new stuff and then you just implement that into your system that you got?
I've got an inventory of somewhere right about 70 helmets right now. So technically I could fit 70 kids, but you know how that works. You might have 5 kids that need a medium, and I'm out of medium for something.
Yep.
The good news is we can add in the inventory that East currently has, because East wears the same color helmet that we wear. So we can consolidate East inventory in with us with helmets and shoulder pads and pant pads and stuff like that, and get that extra that we need. But we're probably still gonna have to buy a few things here and there. We can't consolidate the jerseys because obviously our jerseys are different from East jerseys. But I have 60 jerseys in 3 colors. Like I said, we have 4 different jerseys, but we'll rotate the one out of rotation for now. And I have probably 80 pairs of game pants in my 3 different game pant colors. We have white, gray, and purple game pants. So I've got, goodness gracious, I've got 120 something pairs of shoulder pads, just because there's various sizes and shapes and positions and all kinds of stuff. So the only thing I'm concerned about just a tiny bit is helmets. We'll probably end up buying about 20 or so new helmets, but that's $200 a pop. We're fixing to spend a little chunk of money on some helmets to get us in good shape on helmets. But you're right. I mean, every 4 years we're rotating through. I never have a helmet, shoulder pads, game jersey, or game pants in my program that's older than 4 years old. Every 4 years we're purchasing those. This coming year we're supposed to purchase brand new shoulder pads. My thought process has been, shoulder pads are the least of the concerns with safety and stuff. I'd much rather have the kids in safe helmets and have enough jerseys for everybody and stuff. So instead of buying shoulder pads with the combine this year, we may actually just use it as an inventory increase year. And we try to increase our inventory and all the things that we need to get us up to snuff where we need to be. That's what I had to do from 2009 to 2011 when we opened up Portland West. We started with 50 jerseys and 50 helmets and stuff like that. So for those first few years, everything was about increasing inventory to get it up to where it needed to be. And then after that, then we started that 4-year rotation out of on. So football's, you have to have a budget. You have to really look, and I have to do this, I have to do that, because if you treat a new program as a new program and you don't look at cycling stuff out, you're going to be an old program really fast.
Well, that's what I was going to say. What a lot of people don't understand, you don't just go buy helmets and they sit in it sits in your closet for the next 10 years, and you put you use a helmet on a kid for the next, it don't happen that way with the safety regulations and everything that you have to have. Kind of go by kind of the scheduling of, I know you're scheduling, but you can only wear a helmet so long
10 years.
before you can have to send it in to get it
It has to be
reconditioned.
reconditioned every two.
And it gets to a point where if they go to recondition and they label it as it's no good, it can't be reconditioned, they'll send you the helmet back,
Yep.
but you can't use it. That's where you take it, saw it in half, make an award out of it, or
Yep.
sit it on the table just like this one
Yep.
right here.
That's one of our old ones that came from Portland West at one time.
And so that's just, it's one of those. And the shoulder pads are the same way. You have to sit there and now you can go with the same jersey, the same pants for as long as you want. But everybody likes the new stuff here and there and everything. But the helmets and shoulder pads and stuff, and then everybody's got their own girdles. It's not like when we played where you had to loop. Now we did have that.
I
First year,
just went to girdles 4 years ago.
I
I
was
was wearing
saying-
pants pads all the way up until 2 years ago.
I would say the first year I coached with you, because we had Friedel, and then we had to sit there and
Teach him how to
weave the belt through the
pants.
yeah.
Yep.
So you did have those days, but now everybody buys their own girdles that have the hips and the tail pad and that's funny because we're telling the kids at the high school, hey, we're going, our normal practice gear is helmets, shoulder pads, and shorts, but you got to wear your girdle.
Yep.
The only thing they don't have on, it's knee pads, and you don't have them on anyway in the game. You get penalized for not having knee pads down there. And I don't think knee pads work anyway nowadays. You just take them,
I mean, they're
two
tiny.
away from yeah. But I mean, you're actually full pads. You just don't have pants on. You have shorts on, and so you're pretty much just full pads. But what people don't understand is how you have to recondition the helmets, especially, and you can't just sit there because if you put a helmet on a kid and you never got it reconditioned, you never had it sit there and inspected after X amount of years, and he gets hurt, then school, you're out of a job, you're out of a lot of money, and you got a kid hurt. And that's something that would probably be, on your thoughts or any coach's thoughts from here on out and everything. But that's something I think a lot of people don't understand is the strict regiment you have to have, and not you as a coach, but that's just the
It's
rules.
the rules, right? Yeah, we run $20,000-$30,000 to our football program every single year. People see the large numbers that we raise at the combine and think we just got bukus of money in the bank, but every dime that we raise at the combine is basically already spent before it ever comes in the building, because I know exactly where it's going to go, what it's going to purchase, and all that goes back to the kids to buy them good things for the program. And then I tell those kids, hey, because those kids 2 years ago raised X amount of dollars, you're wearing this brand new jersey. Because those kids 1 year ago raised X amount of dollars, you're wearing this brand new helmet. So now we're going to raise X amount of dollars so we can buy this to benefit our program for the next 4 years. And the good thing with like helmets having a 10-year shelf life, we use them for 4 years. Then I can call Coach Combs at Portland East and be like, hey, Coach Combs, I've got 50 helmets that I need to get rid of. Do you need any helmets to supplement your inventory? So that's really helped out East over the years to not have to spend as much money on certain things, because we've been able to supplement them with helmets and shoulder pads, practice cloth, stuff like that. So, and I've done it, I've given shoulder pads to just about every team in the county. Whenever I roll out 4 years later and I got new shoulder pads, I'll contact all the coaches in the county and say, hey, I got lots of shoulder pads if anybody needs some. And, they'll come grab a few here or there and, supplement them. And it's just, trying to pay it forward a little bit.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
And there's nothing you can do with that stuff. Nobody's going to buy used helmets. Like I said, you can do stuff with them for awards and stuff like that, but there's no program to buy them back or anything like that. So what do? So it's nice to rotate them through. But now that I've lost, being able to give them to Portland East, I've contacted the youth league over the years, but a lot of our stuff is too big for the youth kids.
Yep.
It just doesn't fit
Yep.
them. So I don't know. We'll figure that out when we get to it, but it's a good problem to have.
So here's the question that just kind of popped in my head as we're talking about the equipment and everything. What's going to be the nightmare here in 2 years, or say 4 years, if they look at this every 2 years and you start supplementing this equipment, everything for what you got, and then all of a sudden now, hey, we don't see a reason why to have one. Let's go back to East versus West, and how do you separate the equipment? How do you sit there and give back to East or whoever at that time to be able to have equipment? Is that a nightmare that's
It was a major talking point when we met with the administration from East and West and had conversations about all this. They were concerned about, funds and stuff like that. But what I try to, convey to them is I'm going to consolidate all your equipment into my inventory. We'll take notes of how many helmets and shoulder pads, et cetera, came over. And we'll keep that stuff up. We'll replace it on our schedule. In the event that we split, if you brought 30 helmets over, 30 helmets are going back. But it's not the same 30 helmets that came to us.
Right,
They're going to be
right.
upgraded, upkept.
Yeah.
Money's going to be spent on that to keep them in working order and have them exactly where they need to be. Coach Combs has already boxed up all of his cloth, just waiting. So in 2 years, 3 years, if we split back, he opens up those boxes. They've got cloth ready to be worn. East has money in their account right now for the event of if we do split back,
Right.
they've got some spending money to filter in. Anybody that's seen East Practice Field knows there's this shootout here on East Practice Field. It's a lineman shoot.
Yep.
You can get in under it and block and learn to stay low and stuff like that. That's going to make its way to the West Practice Field. And if we split back, then it'll make its way back across town. It's basically we're going to consolidate and we're going to make sure that we keep accurate numbers on everything. And if we have to resplit, then everything just goes right back. But it's been upkept and taken care of over the course of time, so that there's not going to be like this huge amount of money that's going to be needed to be paid out. And at that point, if we split and East needs a little bit of money for something, and we've got that to give them, then we can give that back. And it's just going to have to be a working relationship with everybody. We're going to have to work together to make this thing be successful.
To me, it's really interesting because it's not one of those where everybody just goes, "Oh, you're a coach," and you just go X's and O's, and you teach how to tackle, and you teach how to throw, and this and that and everything. There is a ton of stuff that people don't understand that goes on beyond what people see, and the headaches that a head coach has to deal with, or even assistant coaches. If you got good assistant coaches that allow you to be, to help out, it's like Coach Combs. He's not sitting there going, "Okay, well, I'm done with football."
Yeah.
There it is. I'm
He knows
done.
what he's getting
And so he can come over there to help you. He can sit there but he still has a job over here to do at East. To like you said, I've got to sit there and let's find this report. Okay, well, hey, Coach Lane, I had this kid and this kid here not behaving in class. Teacher said, hey, you got to do something about it because I know how you are with your kids at West and everything. Teachers got to report to you, and you will handle it come practice time and everything on people misbehaving in class and everything. So, but it's a whole lot more X's and O's and everything. But talking about X's and O's, how many coaches do you have on your staff at West? And then what are you adding from, huh?
I said, you're asking me the hard questions.
Well,
I
you
got all
know it
that.
wasn't going to be easy.
I got all that. Let me open
Remember
up.
the first time we talked right over here across the parking lot. First time we ever talked was right here across the parking lot.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be a little
About 5
15, 20 minute, and we was there for 5 hours. So
on our staff, Todd Lambert, Scott Pascarella, Tim Sebring, Jared Sprinkle, Adrian Crabtree, Jay Metter, Tyler Neal, Jared Mays. How many is that? One, counting me, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 counting myself on our staff. Coach Combs' staff was Coach Combs, Lamar Totten, and Eddie Panabaker, so 3. So now we'll have 12 coaches on the Portland West staff because Coach Panabaker, Coach Totten, and Coach Combs all want to come over and help out still, which is going to be a blessing because we got those. I mean, think about it from East standpoint. They've been trying to do everything that they've done with 3 coaches.
Yeah.
We've been doing it with 9. Now we're going to be able to do it together with 12. And Coach Combs with head coaching experience, high school experience, it's going to be a huge blessing to be able to combine the coaching staffs and all work together. And then we're going to figure out who all fits where and all that kind of stuff. But we've got a lot of coaches and it's going to be beneficial to our success.
it'd be nice to maybe actually have an offense, defensive staff to where you still going to sit there and coach the other side, but you can still sit there and split the staff now to where you have one just specifically O-line coach, one specifically D-line coach, with the other one helping.
Right.
But the one guy doesn't have to
Kind
sit there
of
and
a
go,
lead coach.
yeah, you
on
don't
each
have to
side of
have
the ball.
one coach going, okay, well, I got to come up with this drill for the offensive line, but I also got to come up with the drill for the defensive line. I'll help you with the offensive line, and I will sit there and do the D-line type of thing. And so that, that's going to really help out there. Keeping the OC and DC, keeping the same or
That's
looking
me.
to change?
He's not giving up his play calling, dude.
No, I've given up play calling duties. Coach Pascarella did that last year. Coach Pascarella did it in 2021 when we won a championship,
That's
and
right.
then when he came back with us last year, I turned it back over to him. Now, I can
He's
give
got-
him I can give him my input. If
He's
I
got
need
the
to.
head coach trump card.
I do have the trump card where I can override him and tell him to do something. I usually don't do that with P because usually Pascarella and I are thinking on the same plane with what plays that we're calling. I can't tell you how many times I've said, "Hey, why don't you think about this?" And he said, "That's the next play I'm calling." So he and I are kind of joined together in the way that we think offensively. So Pascarella will be the offensive coordinator calling the plays, but it's a joint effort between he and I. We actually had a meeting yesterday for about an hour and a half of coming up with some ideas for the next season and offensive, schematics and formations and different stuff. Defensive coordinator really is not a title that we have per se. I design the defense. You and I have talked about maybe doing some defensive stuff that you're doing at the high school level this coming season. I design all that, put it all together, and then convey that out to my coaches. On game night, the defensive coordinator that's calling the defense, the blitzes, et cetera, is Todd Lamberth. He'll continue to do that, but we're going to have a lot of input from Coach Combs there because back at Portland Middle School, Coach Combs was my defensive coordinator in 2007 and 2008. So I know Combs is a good defensive coordinator too. So he and Lamberth will communicate on game night to kind of get those blitzes and packages dispersed out. Again, with me having the trump card of being able to say what I'd like for them to do. I like to keep my hand in the cookie jar, Miguel. I know you know this. I can't just let it all go. But I do defensively. I do convey what I want to those defensive coaches, and I let them go. I let them kind of work and do their magic with their groups. And I've always viewed defense is three puzzles that all fit together. And if I've got it fit together as a whole and convey what those coaches need to teach their kids, we never really even have to work together per se. If those defensive linemen know what their roles and responsibilities are, linebackers know their roles and responsibilities, DBs know their roles and responsibilities, those coaches can convey that out to them, then, defense is not as much about continuity as offense is. Defense is more about see ball, kill ball, get there. You got gap integrity, all that type of stuff. Follow your rules, not follow your rules, but do your job.
Yeah,
etc.
yeah.
But defense is more about just let's get to the ball. And get
Read
the
your
guy on the
keys,
ground.
react.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So with the new kids coming over, they had Coach Combs' system. They've got that in their head. The 14 kids coming, they got his system in his head. And I know how you go about this, but how do you bring in those kids and get them implemented into your system with the verbiage and everything? Because I know your verbiage is different than what most people use. Everything it works, and it's kind of funny because the defense this past 3 years with me and the guys, we done the same thing. We used verbiage to where there's keywords. And then that's all. Just worry about your keyword that you're looking for. Once you hear it, you know what you're. And everything else is because I used to sit there and tell you, "Hey, let's do this," and you go, "No, we can't do that. It's too much." And I go, "You're over here with a freaking paragraph on the offense, and I can't even sit there and do this one thing over here." You're like, "It's just too much." But I understand now. It makes sense.
Always, if the offense, defense, one side of the ball can be complicated. Both cannot be. That's my philosophy.
But when do you start going into your verbiage and talking with the kids about this is what this is called and how much? I ain't gonna say dumb it down because you don't dumb it down. All you're doing is just having like no different than if you have tryouts and kids never been on your team before, and now you have to. And they're on your team. Now you have to sit there and go. This is what our verbiage is, and this is what it. I do like the way you do things because, like you said, the way you explained it to me 800 years ago when we got together, it's like reading a book. It's left and right. When you read, this is on the left and this is on the right, and so, it does pair up, pretty good and everything. But when do you start presenting your verbiage and your plays and your kind of your scheme and everything to the kids?
As soon as possible. You know, there's rules and regulations we have to follow as far as what we can and can't do. But you know, as soon as we can start doing that stuff and introducing those kids to those things, we will. It's really, you know, we're adding those 14 kids from East. It's not really going to be any different than a kid that didn't play for us as a seventh grader that decides to try it as an eighth grader and plays for us as an eighth grader. And Caden Henson was starting left guard for us this year. He'd never played football before. As an eighth grader, he decides he wants to play football. We had to teach him all the verbiage, all the all the nuances, all that
Yep.
stuff. The good news is these kids from East, they've already played a year of middle school football, so they understand how the game of middle school football works, the speed of the game, all that type of stuff. We just got to teach them a new system. Now, will it be a little bit of a culture shock because Coach Combs uses numbers for offense? I use words for offense. Sure, it's going to take them a minute to figure that out, but you know, it's nothing that repetition and discussion can't get a kid to understand. And then that comes into where we have to be smart enough as coaches to know what a kid's capable of handling, what he's not capable of handling, and not putting too much on him where he's not going to be successful. We got to find those kids that can help us win and figure out how we can coach them to get them to give us the best that they have to help us be successful.
And you know what you just said that's true at the high school level too. You can put a lot on someone, and it just kind of fry their brain a little bit. And so as you start adding stuff in, you have to learn. Some kids will take it, and they're going, "Okay, I'm bored." Avery Hughes, I'm bored. I'm waiting for the next thing. And then you'll have someone who you're going to have to slow it way down and go, "Hey, this is," and you then have to figure out how to get both of them to understand what needs to be going on at the speed that they need to take it and everything. Um, I just had a question I was going to ask you. It's about X's and O's. Um, but do you have anything, Kyle, X's and O's wise? And get into a little personal life here with Coach. Coach, you have anything X's and O's or anything?
No.
What I will say that's what I had. I said I knew I had to think about it. And when you get old, you start forgetting things. Um, with us now being on the Portland Sport Network, we're now going to start broadcasting away games.
That's awesome.
You know, so I would say, what is your take on having a broadcasting crew on away games now? And I know the parents and grandparents and everybody who listens in will be happy because I know we get a lot of response about the middle school games on Tuesday nights. I even get responses from other middle schools. I talked to a coach at Gallatin when we went down there to scrimmage at the high school this past fall. The coach that was there at Schaefer, he moved up and everything, and he was like, "Oh, you're Coach Almendares. Yeah, hey, thanks for broadcasting." He said it's the one thing I always liked when we played there at Portland because I always went home and re-listened because I wanted to see what y'all had to say on the broadcast about what we were doing and everything, and so. Um, you know, that was one of the things once we first decided we're going to do this, we was talking about the games and everything. We're like, hey, it's one team. We're going to do away games, and everybody sat there, including Andy, was like, yeah, we're good. You know, let's do it. So that's going to be exciting now to get to travel on Tuesdays and to be able to broadcast the away games and bring all 8 games of middle school football to everybody that's going to listen and everything. So
Is the thought to have live video with the broadcast eventually?
yeah, so the plan.
Yeah, I know everything's still in the works. I'm not holding you to anything. But
The plan is starting in January, the live feed will start with basketball, is what we're hoping. Um, just like right now, this is being filmed. It will be, I'll edit it tonight, start uploading it tonight. It takes about 24 hours, 24 to 48 hours to upload everything. It will be on YouTube. The show today will be on YouTube, but eventually, once we get everything worked out and there's understanding how it goes, um, and then it will eventually start being everything will be broadcasted live. Uh, you know, we could use the FHS film, and so I think that's what we're trying to do. Is what the talk is right now. It just all depends, but the goal is when we broadcast whatever we're broadcasting, we will go live with it also.
yeah. No, I mean the fact that y'all are going to do away games is tremendous. I know my dad listens religiously. He doesn't, his health's got where he can't get out and do as much, so he's listening to all those games. And anytime we're away, he doesn't get to listen. He
Yeah.
listens to the East game. Y'all do the
Yeah.
East game. But, I'll call him on the way home. He's like, well, listen to East play, and here's what happened at East, and better watch out for this team that you're going to play them next, and that type of stuff. But now, he's going to be able to listen to all of our games, which will be cool, and maybe potentially see them.
Yeah.
But even like my aunt and uncles, they listen. I sent them a message before I came on today, say, hey, I'm fixing to be on the radio if y'all want to give it a listen, or not the radio now, the YouTube channel. So that is awesome that we're going to have that home and away broadcast, and I appreciate y'all for doing that. It does mean a lot.
And that goes with like the middle school stuff. I know they did the middle school game, the East West middle school game. Maybe when they play again, and we do it again, or the next time we do it, we have everything up and ready and running, and it could be live. Then you can actually get to see it and everything while it does that. So
Y'all did do an away game. Was that 2021 when y'all went down there to Liberty Creek and broadcast?
yeah, because I broadcasted. I'm the one that did it. I don't think Kyle could go. It was just me and him. Did I?
No, it wasn't a 2021 season because it was at Liberty Creek. They didn't come in until 2020.
It was the first year.
But it was Liberty Creek.
Yeah.
You wanted to.
But maybe they came. Maybe
Yeah.
they came in 2021. I don't remember, but I know it was Liberty.
Because I didn't like the box. It was so far away. It seemed like we were so
way
far
up
away
there.
from the field. Like, man, I'm gonna need binoculars and
Yeah.
everything.
I know it was at Liberty Creek, and I know
It
it was
was.
a away game, but I'm pretty certain it was either 2021 or 2022 when y'all did it. But I want to say it was
Yeah.
2021.
It was their first year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First year Liberty Creek was up.
No, it was not, because I remember Bill McLaughlin was our running back, and that would have been his 8th grade year, because we featured Bill in that game because he hadn't carried the ball as much, and Liberty Creek didn't have as good of a team, and we wanted to give Bill some love that game, so we kind of featured him in that game. And so that was 2022 when that happened. East was on a bye is what it was.
Okay.
And y'all didn't broadcast. Y'all didn't have a game to broadcast. Y'all said, well, shoot, we don't have a game. We'll go down there and do y'all.
Yeah. So getting back into a little bit of personal stuff with you. Got a wife, got a daughter. You got dogs.
Yeah.
I know you're big into dogs.
Yeah.
And how do you? So what's funny is you could tell that you're a Cowboy fan when you first started breeding your dogs, their names, and then you could tell you got into hockey,
Oh,
and
yeah.
now you're a big Predators fan because
Yeah.
now again you got Rene, you got all these dogs, and
Yeah.
they're all named after the Predators and everything. But what are some other hobbies that you do that helps you during this time? Like you said, this is your time to relax and everything. So what are some things that you do now that helps you in that relaxing stage?
Can't throw out my wife and daughter and not let me talk about it. I don't want to go home and get in trouble, right? He's going to get me in trouble, Kyle. My
I
wife,
always do,
yeah,
eh?
my wife is April. She teaches at Portland High School. We've been married since 2006. I hope I got that right.
Oh, talk about getting in trouble.
And my daughter's Kinley. Kinley is a 6th grader at Portland West. She's 12. She'll be 13 on Valentine's Day. And you're right, we do have dogs right now. Our female's name is Rennie, after Pekka Rinne, the goaltender, longtime goaltender for the Nashville Predators. And our male is named Roman, after Roman Yossi, the defenseman for the Nashville Predators, who secretly is my wife's celebrity crush. She thinks he's a beautiful man, and I think he's a beautiful man too. So yeah, we got Roman and Rennie, and we breed Roman and Rennie. They're Springer Spaniels, so I have a kennel name. Our kennel name is First and 10 Springer Spaniels. We got the football theme there going on. You can find us on Facebook. We have a website, all that good stuff. We breed about once every 12 to 18 months. And it's just kind of a hobby. So you asked about hobbies. That's one of our hobbies, is breeding dogs. I can't remember a time that we didn't breed dogs growing up. Some of my earliest memories, we were breeding collies. Mom and Dad bred collies, and I can remember just laying in the yard and having collie puppies jumping all over me and licking and stuff. And then we started raising beagle hounds and different stuff. So when I was in college, actually, my brother, Corey, he had a black lab and I had a black lab, and we bred them when I was in college. And then when my wife and I got married, I said, I'd really like to breed dogs. It's kind of something I've always done my whole life. And so we bought 2 Springer Spaniels, and that was Daisy and Deuce.
Yeah.
But now our Cocker Spaniels, who we didn't breed, their names were Dallas and Dion. That's the Cowboys names
Yeah.
that you're talking about there. So yes, I am a long-suffering Cowboys fan and a huge hockey fan. My wife and I have season tickets to the Predators games. We go to just about all the home games. We're at the very top of the stadium, but I love our seats because it's a bird's eye view. And I've really learned a lot about the game of hockey over the last about 10 years. We've had season tickets, and it's a fun game to go watch. But yeah, the dogs are definitely a hobby. Spending time at home with my family is a hobby. I was sitting in a deer stand this morning. That's a hobby that I have. Deer hunting. It gives me a little bit of quiet time, alone time. Not alone time per se, but just that quiet time that I need. You know, in Psalms, the psalmist says, "Be still and know that I'm God," and that gives me a chance to have that still time and kind of just let everything settle and just be able to think. You know, some of my best thoughts, my best conversations with God, my mom, who passed away a few years ago. Those are times I'm sitting in the woods when I get a chance to do that. Anything outdoors, mowing the yard, planting trees, planting shrubs, you know, all that type of stuff. That's fun for me. I enjoy
Lining
being
football
outside.
fields.
Lining football fields, yeah, all that stuff. So yeah, I'm not really diverse in my hobbies. I don't have a lot of necessarily like crazy things that I do, but I do enjoy outdoors for sure.
Um, Favorite food?
Favorite food. Uh, can I just? Is it just one?
Oh,
I guess
no,
it's
just
favorite. You can only have one, right? I know my brother.
foods. Let's plural.
My brother texted earlier.
Because if you ask, several kids.
Exactly. My brother's birthday's today, by the way. Happy
Ah.
birthday, Corey.
Oh, man.
He texted us earlier and said we're going to Harper's tomorrow for his birthday. So Harper's fish is definitely one of my favorite foods. But I would have to say my top number one food is ribeye steak. I love a good ribeye steak.
Where do you go to get your best one? Where have
Um,
you had the best one?
the best ribeye steak I ever had was this summer in Pass Christian, Mississippi. We like going. We went the last 2 summers to the Mississippi Gulf Coast down there. It's Pass Christian. It's around the Biloxi area, and there's a place down there called the steakhouse is called Whiskey Prime. It's a very small little steakhouse. It's really cool down there. If you've never been to the Mississippi Gulf Coast, miles and miles and miles of just oceanfront highway, and then you're driving for 10, 15 minutes, and there'll be a little community. Another 10, 15 minutes, little community. And there's literally, we've been there 2 summers. I haven't seen the first go-kart track. I haven't seen the first putt-putt golfs. And I haven't seen any little T-shirt stands where they're selling little knickknacks and
Oh,
stuff. Now, when you get up to Biloxi, you get into some of that, but
Yeah.
west of Biloxi, none of that. So it's little communities with like a pier and little shops and stuff like that, and it is totally chill. We were there 4th of July weekend. We didn't have to wait a single minute to have a seat at a restaurant. We didn't sit at any traffic lights waiting in traffic or nothing like that. It is just the most relaxed vibe you could possibly have. If you want to go somewhere just to relax, it's a place to go. But that Whiskey Prime steakhouse down there, best steak I've ever ate in my life. And my wife got chicken parmesan, and she said it was the best chicken parm she'd ever ate. So I would suggest anybody go down there and check that place out. It's a really cool place.
Favorite music, which I already know this, but because your playlist before the games, people sit there and ask, "Really, what are we doing here with this?" Like you just don't know.
I
But
like classic rock. You know, classic rock's good. My favorite music, if I'm just listening as I'm driving down the road, is going to be country music. And I'm not talking about new country. I'm talking about old country. Merle Haggard, stuff like that. But yeah, classic rock, Led Zeppelin, AC/DC, that's all good stuff too. I like contemporary Christian music as well. I'm kind of eclectic. I like lots of different stuff. There's rap that I like too. Um, but yeah, my playlist it gets so much hate that people don't like my
it
music.
hasn't changed. It's
hasn't
been
changed.
Dawn.
Yeah.
You've added some Blackstone Cherry.
Yeah,
You
that's-
did add some Blackstone
I've
Cherry.
changed it up the last couple of years. There's a lot of new stuff in there now.
There's some stuff I threw at you back when we coached and everything, and you've added to it. But I enjoy it. I enjoy coming to your games and that because I know what I'm going to hear. And
Oh,
you know, um, what's favorite? Let's go movie genre, and then favorite movie, and then we'll go sports movie.
Favorite movie genre has got to be comedies. The Will Ferrell stuff, the Adam Sandler stuff is what my wife and I like to watch. We're constantly quoting Talladega Nights and stuff like that. And I'll tell you something I got into. It's not movie, it's TV shows. But The Office, we started watching The Office I think over COVID, and now we've watched the 9 seasons of The Office probably 5 or 6 times through. Anytime there's nothing on TV to watch, we're watching The Office. So much so, my 12-year-old, whenever we ask her what she wants to watch, she says The Office. So that's something we've really got into. So comedy is definitely our our favorite type of movies and TV shows. But yeah, Will Ferrell and Adam Sandler stuff is our favorite. Any sports movie? My favorite sports movie? Oh, that's a tough one.
You can divide it into sports if you want. Did that help you?
No, I'm thinking probably We Are Marshall is probably one of my favorites. I show that periodically, throughout school year sometimes, not all the time. But if we ever have a time like the end of the school year where it got some downtime, I might show the Marshall or something. Or if there's like a movie day where we're having a reward at school or something like that. So yeah, I'm gonna go with We Are Marshall, favorite sports movie.
You're a teacher at Portland West Middle School.
Yep.
What subject do you teach?
So I teach sixth grade science, and I also have one eighth grade science class.
And what led you to teaching science? We'll go with that one. Then I'll let you answer, and then I'll go with one more.
What led me to teaching science? Well, to be able to be a licensed teacher, you have to pass a test called the praxis, okay? And you have to pass the praxis to get your license
Yep.
to be licensed, right? I knew I was not going to be able to pass the math portion of the praxis because I'm terrible at math. I knew that the English part would be difficult for me because, as you've heard me talk here today, I have a slight little bit of redneck in my English. I am fairly good at writing and stuff like that, but English I knew would be difficult for me. History I knew I would struggle with because all the dates. I'm a big picture guy. I can see the big picture, but the finite details are something I struggle with, which is why Pascarella and I do so well together because he's a finite detail guy and I'm a big picture guy. So that's why I chose science because I knew that would probably be the test that I would be able to have the most success with and be able to pass. And quite frankly, another reason why I chose science was Mr. Butler at Portland Middle School when I first started teaching had a science position that was open and I wanted a job. So that was the only position that was open and I wanted a job. So that's why I fell into science. But I love teaching science. It's something the kids enjoy doing. They don't get a lot of science in elementary school. So when they come to middle school, it's really their first time to have science as like a true standalone class. And all you elementary school teachers that are teaching science, I know y'all teach science, but it's not like a dedicated every single day 45 minutes class like it is in middle school. So it's a really a chance for a lot of kids. They come to middle school and they're like, I don't like science, and at the end of the year they're like, I didn't like science that much in elementary school, but I love it now. It's fun.
Well, that's gotta mean something.
Oh yeah,
when
it
you hear
does
that.
for sure.
Yeah.
It does for sure.
What was your favorite subject when you went to school?
My favorite subject in
Well, it wasn't
school,
math.
I can't.
That
No, it was
wasn't
not math. I can't say recess, right?
Yeah.
Lunch, recess. That's the number one answers. I will say one of my favorite classes I ever had in school in middle school for sixth grade, seventh grade, and eighth grade. I didn't have a traditional English class. I had Miss Penny Gilliland, which is Sloan Gilliland, or actually Sloan Stein now. Her Steinbrecher. Her mother was my ELA teacher, and she taught us very differently. We learned how to master nouns and verbs and adjectives and stuff by writing. So we wrote creative stories, we wrote biographies, we wrote all kinds of different stuff. She always had some sort of content for us to write about, and then we would write those stories, peer edit with each other. So we'd read somebody else's story, we would peer edit through that, and then we would define rough drafts, final copies,
Yeah.
stuff like that. We read books all the time. Had lots of books that we read in her class. So we learned English kind of in a different way, which is why I'm probably not very good at it today. I can write now. I can write until the day's done, but I can't tell you what a verb is or what a noun is for anything. But that was probably one of my favorite classes I ever had in school. As far as subject goes, I would say my favorite subject was probably history. But again, those finite details are hard for me, just remembering specific dates and stuff like that. So, yeah, history would be my favorite subject, and Miss Penny Gilliland's class was my favorite class in middle school.
With you teaching science, and have to you have to teach certain things. What is the one thing that you get the greatest joy out of teaching? And so through the year, you're like, man, I can't wait to get to this right here because this is the favorite thing. I love teaching these kids. What is the one thing that you love teaching out of the science?
They've moved the standards around on us. At first, space was in sixth grade. Now it's in eighth grade. I really enjoy teaching space to my eighth graders, getting them to understand how vast the universe is, just the enormity of space. We get to talk about the Big Bang, you know, and how that's a scientific theory, which me as a Christian, I don't necessarily adhere to the scientific part of the Big Bang, but I do think that there had to be some sort of creation event. And if there is a creation event, then there has to be a creator, because you can't have creation without a creator. They're synonymous with each other. They have to be there. And of course, I can't give those ideas and thoughts to my students because public schools
Yeah.
and separation of school and state and all that stuff. But I can tell my kids, you know, hey, I have certain beliefs, you have certain beliefs, and it's okay if our beliefs differ from each other. The main thing is you want to have something that backs up your beliefs. You need factual evidence as to why you believe what you believe. And those are things that I get a chance to talk with my kids about. So space is really fun because you get to talk about creation and the vast enormity of space, all these different discoveries that are happening and different things. So moon phases, tides, there's all kinds of fun things that come along with that. So that's my top favorite in 8th grade. In 6th grade, we talk a lot about ecology, which is the study of nature. You know, food webs, food chains, herbivores, omnivores, carnivores. Those are things that I really enjoy talking about with my 6th graders, and obviously with me liking outdoors as much as I do, it fits really into some of my natural interest.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you coming on today. It was short notice when I reached out to you, but I was glad that you was able to be here. It's always fun talking. I know we talk on the side a lot here and there. I know we'll be talking a whole lot more in the coming months and everything. But appreciate you coming in today. Don't forget Tuesday night, PHS basketball over at East Rob. We'll be broadcasting that. We'll come on air about 5:50 ish, and we'll do the girls' game and the boys' game following. And then Friday night will be at home versus Joe Burns, girls' game at 6. Boys following that with the pregame about 5:50 with that one also. So with that, today, thank
Today,
you.
Candy Cane Lane, downtown, 3 to 5. The parade's at 5:30, Christmas parade.
That's right.
So don't miss that.
And watch the traffic. It'll be crazy before the Christmas parade and everything. Thanks, Coach. For Coach John Thayer, for Kyle Eden, for Coach Kyle Lane, I'm Coach Almendarez. Thank you again for watching Off the Rails here, Sports Saturday on the Portland Sports Network, and we'll see you next week.